Charma, real name Charma Driston or Mara Grace, made her first appearance in Superboy 221, published in 1976. The story, featuring the Legion of Superheroes, entitled The $1 Trillion Trophies, was written by Jim Shooter and penciled by Mike Grell. In the story, Legionnaires Superboy and Timberwolf answer a security alarm at a power plant in Metropolis. Expecting to only find vandals, the burglars actually turns out to be Charma and Grimbor the Chainsman, two new super crooks in town. And they're certainly up to no good. Burglaring the power plant was in fact just a decoy. They set off the alarms on purpose with the specific intent to attract the Legion. The villainous pair then easily defeat the two mighty Legionnaires, Grimbor using his brute force and various bondage gimmicks. He is the greatest master of bondage in the entire universe after all. He says that himself. While Charma subdues Superboy with her power. Her power is to make men feel an intense desire to care for and protect her. This is a power she in fact can't even control. Whenever a man simply lays his eyes upon her, he falls under Charma's spell, so to speak. Just the thought of her being hurt or sad will drive the man into a frenzy, seeking any way to ease her pain. This power of hers comes with a side effect though. She has the exact opposite effect on women. When a woman sees Charma, she feels an intense hatred and irrational rage, desiring to hurt and even kill Charma at any costs. Yeah, that's quite the bizarre power. Anyway, the pair then imprison the two heroes within Grimbor's amazing constraints, and send them to R.J. Brand, the founder and trillionaire financier of the Legion. Charma then delivers a threat to Brand: pay her 100 million or the Legion will suffer. So all of this, capturing the two Legionnaires and chaining them up, was meant to prove a point. Charma and Grimbor can and will defeat the entire Legion if they so wish, unless of course Brand coughs up a hefty sum of cash. Later in the villain's hideout, we learn Charma's origin story. She grew up in a poor family and her parents died during a food riot, fighting to get some food for their starving young daughter. The orphan Charma was then sent to live at a harsh girls' school, where the headmistress treated her horribly. This only grew worse with time as Charma got older and her powers grew more potent. Influenced by the side effect of Charma's power, the headmistress singled her out and tortured her relentlessly for no reason. The other girls at the school also succumbed to Charma's power, treating her horribly as well. Eventually it got so bad, the headmistress hired the notorious bondage expert Grimbor the Chainsman to further torture the shit out of Charma. But of course, him being a man ironically ended up being her rescue. Grimbor immediately freed the poor mutant and became her devoted servant instead, and the rest is history. Now bitter and full of hate, Charma plots to blackmail R.J. Brand so that she can get enough money to buy a better life for herself. And really, can you blame her? Naturally, she and Grimbor failed in the end, and the Legion defeated the both of them. 2 years later, in issue 240 of Superboy, Grimbor returned on his own to get revenge upon the Legion. Apparently, as this issue revealed, Charma had been sent to a woman's prison, and that naturally didn't end so well. Charma was in fact brutally murdered by the other female inmates. Being dead, we never did see this version of Charma ever again, but Grimbor appeared a few more times to avenge his beloved partner. Despite the fact she'd been dead for over a decade, Charma got a Who's Who entry in 1988, which finally revealed her full name as Charma Driston. This entry also revealed her home planet to be Turabo. For some reason, her origin was also changed a bit in the read-up. Instead of her parents dying in a food riot, they died of a plague, which wiped out most of their planet. What the point was to alter and retcon the backstory of a one-shot character who hadn't appeared in ages, I have no clue. 8 years later in 1996, after the Legion continuity had been rebooted 100 times, Charma finally made another appearance. A tiny cameo appearance, that is, inexplicably standing in a massive crowd. What was going on here? Who knows? Anyway, flash forwards 2 years and she returned for real. This took place in Legionnaires issue 66. A completely retconned Charma appears as Charma Grace, an old acquaintance of Legion member Invisible Kid. This version used the origin from the Who's Who entry, for some reason, with Charma's family having died of a plague alongside the most of Turado. Her parents were important government officials, so after their passing she was sent to EarthGov's spy school, where she met Lyle Norg, aka Invisible Kid. Charma was a bitter child though, and just wished to disappear and become invisible. When Norg invented his invisible formula, she tried to replicate it, but failed, instead giving herself the familiar charm powers of Charma. Ironically, this had the exact opposite effect of what she desired, as now she was constantly the center of attention. version. She did not gain the side effect of enraging women though, like the older version. This new Charma didn't die, but nevertheless she never appeared again, and we haven't seen the character in any form since then. So wow, what a character. The original version, I mean. The 90s take isn't bad, but a bit generic. She's basically Poison Ivy in space, but without plants. The 70s version though is just fantastic. The gimmick of causing men to love her and women to hate her is really unique. Her ability is both a power and a handicap. This version's effect on men isn't quite the same as Poison Ivy's either. It's not necessarily that they fall in love, they grow protective of her. They can't hurt her even though she's an enemy, and strikes at anyone else who does, no matter who it is. Like for example Timberwolf punching his own girlfriend Lightning Lass when she attacked Charma. Charma's backstory is also among the most tragic villain origins out there. Sure, she's an evil bitch now, but considering her past, that's very understandable. If I went through the same things she did, I think I would have been an evil bitch too. Charma's scheme is to get money, and I've complained about that many times in the past. Villains who are motivated by greed are kinda boring, but there is a way to make it work, and that is if they have interesting motivations for wanting the money. It's not about the money itself, but what they want to do with that money. This we can find interesting and compelling. In Charma's case, she's lived an absolutely horrible existence and wants money to make things better for herself. That works, and we can also relate to it. I want more money, but not to roll around in it, to buy a better life for myself and my loved ones. We all want that. I wish we had more villains like this. As for Charma's visual design, there's not a lot to say, it's kinda generic, but then again I can't really complain about it, if you know what I mean. I wish Charma had appeared a bit more than just one story, and then one half-decent remake of that story. I don't think she could have gone on for too long, but a couple more stories at least. Still, the one we did get, the first one I mean, is great, and I highly recommend you read it, especially if you're a Legion fan. So there you have it, that's Charma, the Forgotten Legion foe. As always, remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.